I would always rather there be more than less.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be hard. What did you learn about UDL by reviewing these lesson plans?
Mm.
Most of the lesson plans I looked at had a lot of engaging activities for the kids to do. And it was like bolded, like whether, like one of my favorite lesson plans had like the formative assessment highlighted, the summative assessment highlighted, and then each of like the different parts of UDL, like the different activities highlighted, which I thought was good.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. There were some that I read that like were very explicit about having like multiple means of representation, and which I thought was really cool. Like it was like doing it in a video, doing it in a like a physical walking around the room activity, also explaining it, also doing a hands-on activity. Like you're getting all the different types of learners being able to like engage and interact with the material in a different way. And like in our assignment, is to like reflect on like our lesson plan. And when I was like thinking, I was like, I didn't really do that much. Like, I thought about like if like a student has a disability, like how do I represent stuff in another way? But I don't think I did it enough.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think that some of the lessons were either really good about incorporating like UDL like guidelines, like multiple means of representation, engagement, expression, all of that, and then like one of mine was like paper and pencil assessment only, and I was like, yikes.
Yeah, that's how mine were too. Like, I think that I was reminded more of UDL like when I didn't see it, and I was like, oh man, it's missing this, and that, than like seeing it that much. Because like I was reading it, and I was like, oh, like this is good, but I wasn't like that like engaged and thinking about it. But when it wasn't there, I was like, oh man, like this.
Yeah. Agreed.
I feel like by having that too, like there'll be less class like management issues you'll have with the class.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Do we just want to go through our 4 lessons?
I guess I can go for it. So the first one I looked at was for like the English language arts standard, and it was an activity about like vertebrates. And so it was having the students like search through a bunch of different like trade books and magazines for different examples of like animals that were vertebrates and invertebrates, and then like kind of implicit extraction, like figuring out what characteristics were like similar in vertebrates and invertebrates, and then like coming together and sharing that like with the class. And so I really liked that one because it just seemed like there were like so many different things that were going on during the lesson, and like so many different ways that they could find information because they were using their iPads or using like hands-on books and stuff like that. So that one was my favorite. And then another one I really liked was one, it's called like My Book, and it was for the writing standard. And the students, like, it was a standard about creating a narrative. And so the teacher had the kids like write a book that was meant to be given to like a younger kid. And so, yeah, I thought that was really cool because it like gives them such like a purpose and motivates them. And that one they also like were revising in groups and working together. So that one like wasn't as like UDL because it's so like direct, like you're writing a book, like you can only write a book so many ways.
Yeah.
But it was really like she was talking about like how she would be involved in the classroom and like involved in these like workshops and helping them, and at the end they like read their book to the class. So again, like if you're not like a super good or like comfortable person public speaking, it would have been hard for those kids, but it was pretty good. And then I read one about like the coordinate planes for the math standard. And this one was like, it was all right. They like watched a video that was people like navigating using coordinate planes, which I feel
I
like
think I read through that one.
And I feel like people don't really do that like in real life very much. So I was like, this doesn't feel like nobody's out there like with a coordinate plane, like, oh, go up 3 over 4. Like that's not how maps work. It's not how roads work.
Yeah.
But it was pretty interesting. And then they played Battleship to like practice with coordinates.
Smart.
Yeah, that one felt like a little better. And then they did like some pencil and paper stuff. So like that one was like, it was okay. And then the last one I didn't really like at all. And he was just doing like the order of operations. And it started out really good. He like told the kids they were talking about order that day. Sorry. And he like made a sandwich in front of the class, and he like had the kids tell him like, okay, what do I do next? What do I do next? Like, does this order matter? And so they were like getting started and like thinking about like why the order of things matter. But then from there, it just kind of like went straight to paper and pencil, and like you're doing a worksheet, and then you're like showing me your worksheet to get out of class. So that like really dropped off as far as like multiple means of engagement, but it started out pretty good.
Yeah. Dang. So mine, I don't have mine ordered, but I'll let you guys know which ones I liked the best. My first one that I did was called Socratic Discussion, and that was one of the ELA guidelines or whatever. And so I did it by like, so the goal was like for students to like make an argumentative claim and defend it in class discussion. So the students like started by having like a small group discussion on like the topic of decisions. So like, would you want to be able to change a decision after you made it, kind of thing, like forming opinions. And then they share their ideas like in their like small group, come to a consensus, and then share it out with the class. So then like the students would like go through a text and then like have a discussion on the decisions that the characters made within the text and the situations based on that. And then like they independently decide if they think the characters made the right decision, and then defend it. So like allows kids to process and talk about their ideas and opinions. Yeah, that was really all. And then they like wrote about it. So it wasn't bad. Like none of mine were like terrible. Like I like that they had like a lot of discussion, but there wasn't just a lot of different ways to do it. Like it was fairly just like, we're going to read this text. If you couldn't read, there was really no other way to do it. Like they didn't really talk about like having an audio version or anything like that. So it was pretty much like your typical like English class with like fairly much one way to do it. Like it's a good way to do the lesson, but doesn't there's multiple means of things. And then the next one was one called The First Thanksgiving, which I really liked it because I really liked the goal. I thought it was awesome because I'm super opinionated about this. But it was like for students to use like first-hand artifacts and resources to look at the first Thanksgiving from multiple perspectives and using that to support or contrast their original views. And so they like brainstormed what they thought about like their initial thoughts about the first Thanksgiving. And then they like broke into 4 groups that had like 4 different like types of evidence. And so like the first group had like the Pilgrim perspective, the Native American perspective, context and environment, and then just like artifacts. And so then after they like talk and think about like the specific questions for their group, they share out their ideas to the class and then compare and contrast some of the ideas shared at the beginning of class. So like they talked about like variability in the lesson, and they said like it's inclusive to all learners because there's varying types of evidence available. However, like if you get put in one group where you're reading things or like stuff like that, like you're kind of put into the groups. And so like, yeah, there's varying types of evidence, but if like you're put in a group with evidence that you can't understand because of something like, but the teacher was really explicit on her assessment, saying that she like doesn't care how they present their understanding as long as they present it. Because like the teacher said something about like having them like write down their ideas like in their journal or something like that. But she was very much like, yeah, that's how I'm saying to like how to blanket do it. But like, however, like if they just want to tell me about it, I don't care. I literally don't care how they show that they understand it as long as they understand these like ideas and that they got something out of the lesson. So I liked that one. And then this was probably my favorite one. So the goal, it's called Read and Create Algebraic Equations and Expressions. And so the goal is for students to be able to write expressions using variables. And so he or she started off the lesson by using like a real world example, which I thought was really cool. So they created a Sonic menu, they created an order from their Sonic menu using variables to symbolize items on the menu. So like H for hamburger or like S for soda. And so like the teacher modeled it and like created their order and then had students create their order, which one I thought was brilliant because you're introducing this idea without incorporating math, which I really liked because that just like represents it in a whole nother way. And then from that, the students were given like bags of pattern blocks, and they were all individual, so they all had to do something on their own. And then they wrote like variable equations based on this like the pattern blocks, which I would need to see. I can't really picture that, but from there, like when they're doing that, after they do that, when they feel like they're done, they go up to the teacher and have her check them, which I thought was nice because then that's like a really nice chance for one-on-one formative assessment. And then they watched a video and played Four Corners, which I liked because it was like another means of like representation. Four Corners, that's a total formative assessment, really great, but also like helps kids that need to like move around, kinesthetic learners. So I really liked that. And then they like shared out their ideas, and the teacher like said to like a paper and pencil assessment, which didn't really allow for multiple means of expression. So like there's a lot of multiple means of representation, but not a ton of means of expression. And then my last one was this one called math, where it really pissed me off. Students will solve equations with a variable on a worksheet. Like they were given a pre-assessment to do on either paper or iPads. That was like their variability differentiation was they could do it paper or iPads. Oh, and an audio of the assessment was available. And then students work through the worksheet in groups while the teacher walks around and assists them. And then they go through the worksheet as a class, going over like the problems, and then they do an exit ticket of a problem. And that was literally all. And I was like, ooh, engaging.
Right.
Yeah, so those are mine.
You want, oh, I don't know if, does Katie want to go or do you want me to go? I guess I can go. I don't care. One.
Abu Ben Adham, and the objective that they had for this lesson was very clear and in bold. And it explained like the learner variability, not much on, but there wasn't much on how to help those that don't understand the lesson. It was just a bunch of different ways to do it. They had multiple means of engagement and expression. There was a lot of background information on it. Sorry, I like analyzed it from my perspective instead of like writing what the lesson was about. And I also did the Socratic discussion. And I just love the idea of Socratic discussions.
I do too.
I think because it just allows them to reflect on their reading in like a adult-like way, I feel.
Yeah.
The discussion was very specific from the beginning to end of what will be done during the discussion. Like it was a list of questions that the teacher would give the kid. give the kid. That way, like if the discussion stalled, the kids would still have stuff to talk about and discuss. And it was just observational. There wasn't any like formative assessments with it. And then I think afterwards they had to write something about the object of the lesson, which was a summative assessment. And for one of the math ones that I saw, it was just where you filled out the problems, and it had basic facts and like the time that was supposed to be spent doing the problems. but there was like no multiple means of representation or engagement. And then I also did 50% learning new information, 50% understanding, and the object for that was like orderly and organized. And I thought that I could give like this to the class without like worrying about it if I was a sub, and they had to do an extra ticket for that.
Okay. So pretty much. Oh, sorry. Are you done, Katie? I can't. Is she done? Oh. Okay, I'll just go. Katie? Oh.
Yeah, you can go, Tegan. I'm done.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no. I'm done. You're good. You can go.
Okay. So pretty much all you guys kind of hit what I did. I kind of explored this a little bit more, so I don't really have specific ones. I liked how like a lot of these, how in the beginning, like kind of on the main page when we pick out our stuff, like what the teacher said to do not do the media, but choose down below the purposes. And at first I got really confused, but then when I picked out different things, I kind of realized, oh, like this will be more of like small groups, and that I didn't realize that, so that was cool. But I mean, Allison, you kind of did what I did already for the math about. It's called order of operation. So I'm a little bit confused because I picked one like you said with the jelly and the sandwich, and I understood that, but then of course at the end, like you said, it just didn't mesh well. But then what I had that I looked up was another math thing. Also, it's called order of operation, and it's for like I told you guys, it was for kids that have 504 plan and needed and have like three. The teacher had three different groups because one is like the faster group, one had a 504 plan, and one of them has like all different types of learning styles because it's kind of like during lunchtime, so the class will be a little bit like not ahead in the class because they have lunch and it's kind of hard. So the teacher explained very well about her lessons, but then I got kind of confused because then they went into the one that Allison you said that was just about the sandwiches, but then it didn't. So I'm a little confused by that. So I looked at that one. And then Katie, I did your one about the literacy one about the Abu Ben. I like that one a lot. And another one that I did, which I know it's not part of our lesson plan, it's called the Haydn Symphony in G major music. And I think that is for, I think, younger kids. Maybe that's why. It's pre-K, yeah, and higher education. But it's really cool how they tone of voice and the object the teacher has, let's see, three different tone of voice. So forte, which is loud, and then medium voice, which is for MP, and then soft. And so he has those three plans, but how he did it, he had three different lesson plans for each. And one that stuck out the most is how, like verbally, how we do it. Like he did a song. I think it's a cheerleading song. Hold on, let me see it quickly. Sorry. It's called like I said a boom chicka boom. And so each time they narrate it too also. So for the piano, you just say it normally, normal voice. But for the really loud voice, is that like a Taco Bell? So you pretend you're at Taco Bell or a restaurant or something, you can't really busy. So you gotta kind of be really loud. And then for the very, very loud, you want to be super loud for you pretend that you're at a cheerleader. So I thought that was fun because it's hands-on more and stuff.
That's great.
And so I know that's off topic because then I read more of it and you're like, oh, you have to choose from, two literacy and two math. So I'm like, oh man, okay, never mind.
But that's cool though.
But I'm still working on this is interesting. All this is really fun to look at. Looking at lesson plans and stuff because I'm a bit confused with some of them. So
I know.
well, some of them
How am I gonna do this?
yeah, they're a little confusing. So that's what I came up with. So
Yes. Cool. Well, cool. Was there anything else we need to talk about?
I don't think so.
Cool. cool, guys. I liked this one.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Just
Us-
let us know when you put the notes in,
Oh, okay.
and then I'll send the link of this. Yeah, so just let us know. Let me know when you put the notes in the note doc.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Yeah.